Greetings and welcome to the Equity.Guru Investor Roundtable. I'm Rob in the basement along with Galen, who is making
Ricola lozenges by the barrel full.
barrels of Ricola
Yeah.
for the throat, a little under the weather.
A little.
And then the man sitting in the vault, because he has all that kind of cash going
I
on,
love gold.
is the shell.
Oh, jeez.
If you go by his house, in
I'll
fact,
do a better
Just
gold
don't start
member,
eating your skin. Please don't start eating your skin.
if you go by his house, you'll see that right there. So he is armed. Today we're talking about SKRR on the Venture Exchange, which is, it's SKRR Resources. I actually own a little bit of these guys on the American side because they do trade in both countries. Sherman Dahl is the CEO, and they're based in Vancouver. And Vishal will start because he loves, as you can see behind him, the gold and the resources.
For sure, Rob. So SKRR Exploration, really interesting play. You'll see my article today. I talked about the risk and reward sort of perspective here. Market cap is just over 5 million. So again, folks, this is a very early stage, let's call it an early stage junior explorer, right? So they're not like at that point where they have a resource, they have some sort of, resource estimate. They're sitting on some land claims, they have some drill results, they're doing some, magnetic surveys, right? Just to find good areas to drill. So keep that in mind, right? A very early stage company, but the potential here, again, is that they are very early stage, but they are in what they consider an undeveloped area of, the gold belt here in Canada. And they're talking about the Trans-Hudson corridor, which is in Saskatchewan. You can see here they're calling it the next Abitibi, which is, of course, a region in Eastern Ontario and Quebec. A lot of mining companies are there. I'm sure we've mentioned the Abitibi belt many times on the Investor Roundtable. So, different play, right? Saskatchewan, usually when you think of Saskatchewan, you're thinking, potash and uranium, right? With, we've mentioned the Athabasca Basin a few times, but gold in Saskatchewan. And they say here that they're sitting on 3 properties, but they do have a few more projects here. And they're not just dealing with gold, they are also looking at nickel and also, where is it? Zinc. There we go. Watts Lake, their zinc project. And it should be mentioned that I would say they're two sort of, they call the Olsen project their flagship project, but I would also say the Irving one is also a big one there as well. And we should mention that this belt does have 2 large producing or past producing mines, SSR's CV mining, and I have a picture of their CV mine right here. You can, take a look at this mining project in Saskatchewan there, and also the Mcelroy gold mine. So this belt does have past and present discoveries, and we're talking, 2 million ounces, right, to date in this gold district. So very underdeveloped, and as I said, early stage, but it's a treasure hunt, right? Because they could be some undiscovered large gold asset that is still to be uncovered in Saskatchewan. And that's the play, really. If we take a look at basically what they've been doing, I think the last time we've talked about this company was back in 2021. I don't think we talked about SKRR Exploration in 2022, but they haven't, right? So they have gotten some stuff going. I just want to start off here with the balance sheet, and this is actually from their unedited interim financial statements from the beginning of January, and you can see here that they are sitting on about $2.8 million in cash. So, they do have the cash in the bank to get some results, to get some drill results and all that kind of stuff going, to basically create catalysts. But cash might not be an issue, really, because if you look at who's on their board, and I remember we've spoken about this, there's a guy named Mcelroy, who was, Person of the Year, PDAX 2014, Bill Dennis recipient, but he's really famous for being part of the original exploration team that discovered the Canadian uranium giant, Cameco, McArthur River, and Fission's triple big uranium deposits, and we mentioned those deposits in our uranium show last week. So, when you have a big name like Ross McElroy there behind a project, major discoveries in Saskatchewan, I think it would be quite easy for him to, get some more money if needed to do some more drill results. But basically, with the cash that they have, and considering what's coming up in terms of upcoming catalysts, they have completed a drill program, and this drill program was at the Olsen project. So if we go back to their projects here, Olsen was the one in the LaRange Gold Belt, or I guess the homepage will show you a bit better where that project is located, near the Taiga Gold Corp asset or deposit there. And we're expecting the assay results, right? So we have 10 holes, and that's a catalyst that's upcoming. The drill program ended on March 9th, 2022, so it has been a bit over a month now. So we are going to be waiting for those results, but that's a catalyst for the stock that is upcoming. We should also mention that SKRR also closed in 100% acquisition of the Watts Lake zinc claims. So they now own that 100% in Edge Geological Watts Lake zinc property, sitting on 24 mineral claims. So if they do want to look at zinc in the near future, they could do some drilling over there. But recently, it does look like they are focused, on the gold side of things. And we've had the beginning of airborne magnetic surveys on the Father Lake project in Saskatchewan. And this news came out on March 22nd, and then also on March 16th, beginning an airborne magnetic survey on the Irving Lake project. So, quick summary, a very early stage gold project, $5 million market cap, sitting on some prospective assets that are near past producing and present producing mines. They have some cash in the bank, and they are basically doing things to get some catalysts going here. And I think from a risk to reward perspective, when we take a look at the charts, you'll understand why. But I mean, with a $5 million market cap, I think you can sort of see where we're going. There is a good potential that, one good news, one good drill result, this potential of a discovery can get the stock popping really nicely.
Now, this is a firm that, as I mentioned, I got involved with them, purchased on the American side of their stock sales back when we talked about them a heap. I guess it was probably between August and October, that time frame. They were very busy. They were a little more ups and downs, happy, joy. And I think I recall Galen kind of being into it. And what are you thinking now?
Well, it's a particular type of play, and you have to understand your own risk profile as an investor and know what you're getting into. This is a company based at this point in time on closology. It's all about geography. Where are we and how close are we to somebody else's real big find? It doesn't mean to say that this is crap. It isn't. It's a way of doing business. But the problem is you're really doing the greenfield exploration. You don't have a clue if there's anything there or not yet. You're hoping that the geology is similar. You're hoping that the way that the earth is put together at that particular place is going to be favorable to those kinds of volcanic massive sulfides or whatever quartz veining that you would want to see, and that's where you're at. So with these kind of companies, what you look at initially is the people behind the wheel. Now, we have, as Vishal had stated, Ross McElroy in the driver's seat in terms of the chairman of the board, I believe, and he's also a director. He's a pretty well-known name in the mining community as somebody that has a good, solid track record in multiple minerals with big discoveries and, trusted by bankers, I'm sure, the world over. So that's a really good person to have in your corner. And these guys don't necessarily want to taint the reputation by hanging out with overnights that are just keeping the lights on. So that's one positive. I mean, who knows? He could be sleeping at the wheel and got in there and just doesn't know what's going on. But I doubt that. Now, the other thing that I like to take a look at is where is their technical ability at. Now, they've got a fellow here by the name of Ron Netelitsky, who's quite a well-known geologist. And the guy, he's got some really good track records discoveries under his belt. He's well known in the community. I've seen him on different in different companies, in different positions, in advisory, and both as part of the technical team. So that's another solid name to have behind the wheel. You know, these guys are actually most likely serious about doing something. We do have that thing in the junior markets where you've got guys that are shouting in the middle of an empty hole, just desperately hoping they're going to pay their salary for the next 2 years before they roll over to another company and pretend like they've never seen you before. That does happen. That's how BRIEX came to be, and that's why we have the National Instrument compliance regulations now to try and stem the tide on those kinds of charlatans stepping into the street. Because unfortunately, with mineral exploration, even if you know what you're doing, it's still kind of a crapshoot. So they've got a gathering of properties that they feel, with the similar geology and the closeology to other projects, will pay off in time. Now, the thing is, with this kind of thing, when that's going to happen is anybody's guess, because they really have to start from scratch. And as Vishal had said, they have begun that process. They're doing some airborne magnetic surveys at a few of their, and a few other projects, and they also completed a very preliminary drilling program at Olsen, which all 10 drill holes in the 4 targets that they were going for produced positive sulfide and quartz veining. What the results are in the assays is something to be seen, but there's a bit of a backlog. Of course, COVID has put a bit of a wrench into the works in terms of getting assays back in a timely manner. So we could be waiting for those for a while. I can't tell you when, because it really just depends on the lab. They're at 8 cents right now. Not a whole heck of a lot that you have to put down to get in. And they're kind of at the low where they're at their lowest. Yeah. You're not really going to see them go much more beyond that, I would think, because now you're looking at the value of the properties that they're sitting on and the fact that they've got $2.5 million in the bank. They are putting money into the ground, which is another good indication. They aren't just, making sure that their offices are paid for and they're getting champagne lunches. They're actually putting money into exploration. This is something that you want to sit on for a while. You probably could trade it if you like, but I don't think this is one of those ideas. Sure. Trade it in the sense of waiting for a catalyst to arrive and going. But this is not something that's volatile enough that it just goes up and down every day on its own volition. This is something you're going to sit on and hope that you're going to hear some good news from these guys in the next 6 months. And if so, clear off, get your profit, or take a chunk of that and put it back into the company, that kind of a process. Again, this is all very dependent on your risk profile. I don't mind it, guys. The projects aren't, laughable. They do have some substantive evidence to a certain extent that they should be explored. So, something can happen. This provides a real good growth opportunity. As with all of this, and it's not a knock against the company, make sure it's money you can lose.
Yep. Interesting. Yeah. What as that? Well, you don't need to tell me because I have been occasionally watching, but not as active on the U.S. side as it is on the Canadian side.
As it is on the Canadian side, yeah.
The trade isn't as frequent or volume-wise. But what have we been doing, and what are we looking towards here?
Yeah, Rob. So just before we take a look at the charts, I just wanted to bring this up because Galen mentioned, the closeology. But this is the first time I've sort of seen this on Junior Miner, Junior Explorer news releases. But they do mention SKRR cautions that past results or discoveries on proximate lands are not necessarily indicative of the results that may be achieved on the, in this case, the Father Lake property. But they also mentioned that for the other property, the Irving Lake. So,
which I think is within their regulatory responsibility, and it's nice that they're stating it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So maybe I just don't really dig into much, but I was like, oh, that's nice they said that. But I think it's good that they do mention that. But again, that's sometimes the excitement of junior mining, or sometimes what tells people or some people say, hey,
everybody wants to discover gold. It's a wonderful feeling. Oh my God, we found a deposit. Yeah. We're suddenly we're suddenly being bought out for $400 million.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the story. How often it happens? Not a lot,
Not a lot, no.
but it doesn't mean that it doesn't ever happen. So
And-
you hook onto these people, and you figure you got a good play. You know?
And you know, when you go to these mining conferences, and there's one coming up next month, everyone's always talking about this is going to be the next major discovery, you know, in Canada. So it's always fun, right? Again, you know, some people, I guess maybe I just like the whole idea of exploration and finding something, but you know, some people consider that not the best way to approach your investments. But again, that's why we state that SKRR Exploration and a few other companies we've talked about in the past, you know, when they're junior explorers, they are very they're not advanced, right? So
they have a high growth potential, but they also have the highest risk.
Exactly. Yeah.
You had a sandbox when you were a kid, right, Michelle?
I did. Was that what? Sorry.
Did you have a sandbox when you were a
Not
kid?
in my backyard, no, but I did play the sandboxes at school.
Okay, just checking.
I actually was on a sandbox, and it was just a gravel.
He just liked to dig in his yard.
You were overturning rocks.
He was mining all his life.
He was
Yeah,
pulling
but-
stuff.
Taking a look back at SKRR, and when I was writing my report, I looked back at the last time I wrote about SKRR, and we were actually looking at price levels right around here, around the 9 cent level. Well, actually, the bottom was 8.5 cents. That was the bottom that we mentioned, or I mentioned in the article, and I drew out, you know, this sort of double bottom pattern, saying, hey, look, folks, you know, maybe there's a double bottom which looks like a W here, right? Obviously, you know, now a few months later, we know that W didn't perform, but I remember saying, well, in my report or in the article that, hey, look, you know, once we get that certain breakout, we can confirm that pattern, but there's a potential we are seeing, you know, a basing here. Obviously, that didn't happen, and we fell a bit further lower to hit new record lows at around 7 cents, right there, pretty much at the spot. And there is a potential here with today's close. The day we're recording, the stock is actually down 10%. You know, just down 1 cent, right? But it's down 10%. And again, this is what happens with these lower priced stocks here. And you know, when it shoots up higher for 2 or 3 cents, like that's I
didn't check
percentage gain.
what's trading volume like on this company.
Yes, so trading volume, average volume is 126,245 shares on the
That's
Canadian
not bad.
exchange. Yeah, and today we had 77,000 shares traded. So, you know, it's, you know, there's decent volume, right? That's what I'm trying to say. It's not, you know, we've seen companies that sometimes have one share traded and then near the end of the day, all of a sudden, you know, 10,000, right? Or something. But SKRR, I just want to highlight that when the prices were here around February to March 7th, when we were at the very lows around 7 cents. If we go back, you can see that there actually were some big buyers stepping in during that time. We had a day where 553,700 shares were traded, and then on March 8th, which was pretty much when we got this big green spike up candle from that bottom, there we go, March 8th, 2022, we had 666,300 shares traded. So we do know that there are buyers coming in to pick this up, because just as Galen said, you know, with a market cap of just 5 million, or it probably drops a little bit below 5 million when the share prices are at 7.5 to 7 cents there. You know, factoring they have cash in the bank, factoring their land, the assets and stuff. It's a good bargain, right? It looks pretty good at those prices, and I think that's what other traders or investors were seeing. There is a potential we could go back to test those lows once again. Not really a big fan of this type of close, but we haven't really broken down below an interim support, which you know, you can sort of, I can draw this out here, and you can sort of see that we have held, or we basically closed right at the support at 8.5 cents. So there is a potential that we could see a nice bid tomorrow, but really, if you're looking at this for a nice prolonged run, if you're just a trader, you know, again, as Galen mentioned, you might want to sit on this until good news comes. But if you want to jump on this because you want to see momentum for the stock to move higher, you're probably going to be waiting for a close above 11 cents just to get that, you know, that move beginning to go, that momentum beginning to go. And then longer term, you're probably going to have to wait for that move about 14 cents. But you know, when we're talking about that, you already have 100% gainer if you're buying below, you know, 7 cents, right? Or below, sorry, 8.5 cents. So big resistance is 11 cents. but there is a possibility we can come back here towards 7.5 cents. And then again, it's up to you, right? Are you someone that is willing to wait for a catalyst to get the stock going, or do you want to be someone that's maybe trading, waiting for that breakout above 11 cents, which means it probably happens, after a catalyst occurs, and then you're going to jump on that trade just because you want to get that gains when the stock goes flying. So different ways to approach, but as I said, from a risk to reward perspective, just looking at the market cap, looking at the assets they're holding, looking at the management team, looking at the catalysts that are upcoming, and looking at the technicals. I think it provides an appealing risk to reward setup just by looking at all that stuff factored in together and from a trading perspective.
Do you, Galen, want to spend any money on this company this week? $7,500.
No, I got you. The company has some pretty, I'm not going to say impressive, but tantalizing aspects to it considering its position. Still only has 63 million shares issued and outstanding. A lot of these companies, they're over 100 million, and they're just equity financing through the wazoo to try and keep things going. These guys seem to have a nice tight count. They've got a lot of insider action over the last few months, and positive, not selling off, but buying in. And it's a low market cap, a relatively high volume in trading. So, and honestly, with that many properties, and if you're able just to get the barest minimum of exploration out and prove that things are actually going in the right direction, those are the catalysts that really sort of power the share price and will give you an opportunity probably over the next 6 months, if they continue where they're going, to really benefit from their activity. So considering where they're at, what they have in the bank, how many assets they've got under their belt, and their valuation, I would say that I would only be worried about losing, let's say, 25 of the 7,500. I'm going to pretend that you're just giving me this 7,500, which you are apparently. So I like that. I'm going to throw the whole thing in. As I said, I'm going to I like the guys that are involved.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that with the money in the bank, they're not going to have to do any equity raising for a while. The exploration work is not going to cost a whole hell of a lot for them to get some good news out the door. And if they strike gold, holy shit, watch this thing climb. So I'm going to drop the 75 in, only be worried about 2,500 of it, but I've already resigned myself to say that I can lose that.
Yep.
But I think they've pretty well bottomed as far as share price is concerned. Selling off the assets will probably recoup most of what they need. So there you go.
Right.
There we go.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think you might be a little delirious.
I am. It's the Ricola.
All right. And we've got Chris in the far corner, frozen. He's definitely going all in because that's just automatic.
He just can't help it.
He's not able to speak for himself. We throw all his cash.
Yeah.
So that's 2 down and 1 to go. The shell.
Yeah, so I'm going to be putting in around 2K in this stock. I say that, you guys know I
Debbie
love my
Downer,
gold.
come on,
Thought I was going to the bell.
Hold the bell up, not this show. But you guys know I love my gold, my explorers and my juniors and my mining companies in general. I just have a lot of more advanced stage and royalty and streamers and miners in my portfolio. So, I still like the juniors because I do think that they will also pop when gold prices pop up. But I just think, I'd rather put my money in some of those more advanced stage projects. Right? And, again, right, as Galen mentioned, there's a lot of positives here. And I think there's a lot of positives as well. But I'm just going to be putting in around 2K just because, there's the probability side of things. Right?
Well, I agree with Vishal. And I just say that a lot of my money is already in the advanced guys, so I can consider that safely away. Yeah. This is my woohoo. Let's see what happens.
Your lottery ticket.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. It's SKRR Resources. SKRR is on the Venture Exchange in Canada. And it is Sherman Dell, the president. And it is based in Vancouver, British Columbia. We have spent $17,000 in investing in the SKRR today, hypothetically. and but we can't guarantee results. We also can't guarantee anything we've said. We also can't guarantee past performance. Holy crap! We can't guarantee a damn thing.
Nope.
That means you got to do
no
your own
guarantees in
homework.
life, kiddies.
That's right. Do your own homework, do your own research, and prepare yourselves if you would like to get involved with the SKRR on the Venture Exchange. And while you're doing that, have some fun, have a glorious week, and we'll talk to you on the very next Equity. Oh, by the way, for Galen down there with the Ricola, and for Michelle up there and Chris up there, I'm Rob. See you on the next Equity Guru Investor Roundtable.